Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I read to Prof. Azhar and also my friends. So today, I'll talk about the faulty forensic evidence exonerating the innocent. So we are talking about the issue of Darren Nelson's, the article about it. Okay, so this is our team members. So we have Nur Isha, Fatina Ziha, Nur Aisha, Anissa, Nur Ainazura, Nafiza, and also Hanina. So first of all, my name is Fatina Ziha. So I'll be the representative to present our SEL. So first of all, forensic analysis can be described as a detailed process of detecting, investigating, and documenting the reasons, cause, and consequences of security incidents or violation against state and organization law. So it is often used for providing evidence in court hearings, especially in criminal investigations. So there are five common steps to conduct this analysis, which are developing policy and procedures, assessing the evidence, acquiring the evidence, examining the evidence, and also finally documenting and reporting the analysis. So in this presentation, we will focus on hair analysis. So hair evidence helps in identifying a person who may have been present at a crime scene. Hair samples are tested with certain chemicals and viewed under a microscope. This method can also provide information about poisoning by metals such as lead or mercury, or even about the person's race. It can also show if the hair has been chemically tested or cut or pulled out in a certain way. Okay, next. Okay, next we'll talk about the problem statement that happened in this case. So it happened because of the false or misleading forensic evidence, perjury or false accusations. Uh, in 2014, the U.S. Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General, which is OIG, published a report on the FBI's handling of complaints about the research and testimony of several of its forensic analysts, including Malone. So the IOG report noted that a of um, review of Malone's work in 1999 found Malone repeatedly testified that by using microscopic analysis, he could match an unknown hair to known hair, and the probability of the unknown hair belonging to somebody other than the known hair's contributor was 1 in 5,000. So this claim that lack a scientific basis. So Malone's notes regarding his examinations were often inadequate or unreadable, making it impossible to verify his results. So the reviewers found that Malone's testimony was consistently overstated and was misleading and inaccurate. Then Malone repeatedly testified that he had personally done tests and examinations, but no exhibit were presented that reflected or constituted such tests. Another problem was when Malone repeatedly testified that at least 15 characteristics are needed for a hair comparison. So this claim lacked scientific support. So he repeated in testimony that he had performed 10,000 hair examinations, but the number um, never increased as the years went by. Okay, so this is the examples. Okay, so the first one is the conviction of Darren Nelson, who was given a 33-year sentence by 33 years sentence based on a false hair analysis was overturned. So James Nichols was killed on February 12, 1985 at a home um, on Lemon Street in Northwest Washington, DC. Nelson, who was renting a space, was found guilty. According to FBI agent Michael Malloy, has discovered on Nichols matched those on Nelson. Judge Todd Edelman criticized Malone's findings as being supported by conclusive science and said the statistical findings were at the best speculation and at worst another fabrication. In other cases like George Barrett's, he had to spend almost 30 years in jail for the conviction rape and burglary towards a 78-year-old woman in her home in Springfield, uh, Massachusetts in 1985 for the same false hair analysis issue because it was considered as scientifically invalid and virtual worthless to identify someone. And similar to parrots, Richard Barnett was also convicted for raping a 28-year-old mother of two in her room in rural Stockton because a hair found in underwear left by the rapist in the woman's bag was a match to Baronet hairs to high degree of probability. However, it was known now that the hair that so powerfully tied Mr. Baronet to describe actually wasn't his. Okay, next. There's few steps to do the analysis hair sample from these cases. Okay, so the first step is FBI's serology unit will examine the blood samples taken from Nelson's shoes and socks. So he testified that the blood from the shoes was identified as human, but there was an insufficient amount to do additional testing. The next step is the blood from the socks. Testified was compatible with Kelly or Nichols, but not Nelson. Hart testified that there was blood on the knife, but he was unable to determine if it was animal or human blood. Okay, the next step is FBI Special Agent Michael Malone testified about his examination of the hairs and his findings. He looked at the hairs under a low-powered stereoscope that enabled him to determine whether each hair was from a human and if so, the person's race and the part of the body it come from. And then uh, the last one is the next step is he testified was an examination of the hair under a high-powered stereoscope, which he said allowed him to identify at least 15 points of comparison with other hair samples. He testified that the hair found on Mr. Nichols matched the head hairs of Mr. Nelson in all characteristics. Okay, detail on analytical technique that used to determine the hair sample is microscopic hair analysis. So commonly known as hair microscopy, which is a technique to examine the physical characteristic of hair samples. So while it can provide valuable information about the morphology and structure of the hair, it does not directly detect someone's DNA. So hair microscopy is primarily used for comparative analysis, such as determining whether two hair samples share similar uh, characteristics or if a question's hair sample match a known reference sample. So risk of using this analytical hair sample is microscopic examination of hair does not determine DNA. This microscopy hair analysis is used to examine the physical characteristic of hair, such as its structure, color, diameter, and scale patterns. It can provide valuable information for the comparison and identification of hairs, but it does not provide the specific DNA information about the individual. Okay, next. Okay, based on the statistic provided from the article source, the FBI has identified for a review roughly 2,500 cases in which the FBI lab reported a hair match. Reviews of 342 defendants' cases have been completed. About 1,200 cases remain, including 7,000 in which police or prosecutor have not responded to requests for trial transcript or other information. Moreover, 268 trials in which hair evidence was used against defendants. FBI also give forensic testimony in 257 of those 268 trials, or more than 95%. 268 trials in which hair evidence was used against criminal defendants. 257 trial with forensic testimony, 32 death penalty cases with law forensic testimony, and this is the source from National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyer and Innocence Project Analysis of FBI and Justice Department data of March 2015. Alright, so the advanced technology that used to replace microscopic analysis is where we can use mitochondrial DNA analysis. Mitochondrial DNA analysis is a technique used when the root or follicle is absent or degraded in the hair sample. anti-DNA, DNA is present in the mitochondria of cells and is inherited maternally. Mitochondrial DNA analysis can be used to determine the maternal lineage and can provide some information about the individual's genetic background. However, it has a limited discriminatory power compared to nuclear DNA analysis. Other than that, we also can use short-term repeat analysis to replace the microscopic head analysis. So STR, also known as short tandem repeat analysis, which can be used on hair sample to detect individual DNA. So STR analysis is a technique commonly employed in forensic DNA analysis due to its high sensitivity, accuracy, and ability to generate unique DNA profiles. Thus, many types of hair analysis have been introduced to us in order to overcome this problem. Alright, so next is problem solving. Okay, there are some problem solving that they're applicable related to the problem statement given, which by conduct a thorough review of the case, including all evidence presented during the trial, witness testimony, and the forensic analysis conducted by Mellon. So identify any inconsistencies, errors, or misconduct that may have occurred. Next, seek an independent evaluation of the hair analysis by reputable forensic experts. These experts should carefully examine the methodology used by Mellon, the accuracy of his conclusion, and any potential bias or deficiencies in his work. So we need to develop and implement standardized protocols for hair analysis that adhere to scientifically accepted practices. This includes guidelines for sample collection, preservation, examination, and interpretation. Okay, so next, as for the recommendations, we have come up with 3 recommendations. Okay, first and foremost is the standardization of procedure. So we need to create standard procedures for hair analysis that are followed by all laboratories involved in comparable cases. Secondly, quality control and proficiency testing are required to prevent the faults from happening. So by establishing a thorough quality control program with frequent proficiency tests, the frequent flaws can be spotted and also the accuracy can be tracked. And the last one is regular review and adaptation during analysis. And internal and external audits need to be conducted to assess compliance and also the effectiveness of the procedure for any analysis. All right, to sum up this topic, so faulty forensic evidence is a serious problem that can lead to unfairness as well as mistake in the legal system. We can address this issue by educating people, setting higher standards for forensic analysis, and promoting transparency and independent review. So by doing these things, we can make sure that forensic evidence is reliable and can help in bring the real justice to the right people. So that's the end of our presentation. So thank you.